I'm working on the next Pin Baby cabinet, and I'm going to do a little something different with this one. I'm going to try to incorporate a little miniature joystick into it to take advantage of a couple games that you don't see played very much with virtual pinball, visual pinball machines, because there are this combination of an arcade game and a pinball game. And the big difference is that these couple of games require a joystick, and that's something most people don't want to include on their pinball cabinets. Now the first game here, and many people have heard of this, is Baby Pac-Man. And I'm going to bring up the flyer here in Pinball X, and so I can show you a photo of what the original cabinet looked like. As you can see, it looks like a little fat version of a Pac-Man game, and you can see that there's a little pinball playfield in there. But there's also in the back glass image, it's not really a back glass, it's just a regular arcade screen. There's a Pac-Man maze, and there's joysticks, one joystick, and two buttons on either side that run the flippers of the machine. So it's really a strange little combination, but it was a very popular game as I understand it. And who wouldn't want to try playing this thing if you walk by it in an arcade, this tiny little pinball. Very, very original for the time. So this is the Visual Pinball implementation of it that we're going to fire up here. And you'll see the back glass screen come up with that arcade image on it. And it will pop up with the screen. There we go, we have the high score list. I just loaded this on. I haven't played it on this machine very much, so the scores aren't very high. But you can see that we have the arcade screen, and then we have the playfield. And the playfield is condensed. Since it's not a full-size pinball, they kind of squeeze it down a little bit, and you can see at the bottom of the playfield monitor, it sort of just has a little fake overlay there of a joystick and the buttons. That would be on their real machine. So we have some credits in here. Let's hit start, and we'll start playing. So you start out in the maze, and it just plays like regular Pac-Man. I'm using the arrow keys on a keyboard. The big reason you don't see this as a lot of cabinets is because it's really tough to get controls to work with the actual arcade machine. Well, okay, I got caught by a ghost. So it's going to start me with my next guy. And this time, I'm going to run out one of these exits at the bottom. And we're going to go into the pinball mode. And here we have our little pinball game. And by hitting certain targets in here, you can get power-ups and bonus points in the maze section. And then if you hit the right combination of targets, and then hit one of those spots, it sends you back into the maze. Here we go. We drain the ball, so I guess that's what sends us back in the maze. I haven't played this very much. I'm just mostly trying to get everything set up correctly. So what I'm planning to do, because you need arrow keys, some people have tried using their flipper buttons, a combination of flipper buttons and MagnaSave buttons, if they have them on their cabinet, to take the place of the arrow keys. I'm also going to be putting MagnaSaves on the next Pin Baby cabinet, so it'll be more or less sort of a deluxe model, has a few extra features on it. But I'm trying to find a very small joystick that won't really stick out too much, because it's really only going to be used for really 2 games. I don't know of any more that are using a joystick for anything. But like I said, this is probably the most popular one. And the Visual Pinball version of it works really well. It's just really cool having that back glass with a whole screen in it. Now you can see I can't get out of the maze right now, and it looks like it's game over for me, so that was my third Baby Pac-Man. Oh, I got one more guy. This is my last one. Oh, I can get out of the maze now. And let's go back into the pinball. And I'm back into the maze. So see, when you drain the ball, those exits at the bottom are stuck closed. and you have to just complete the maze to get back out, and I guess I'm just not very good at Pac-Man. So let's go to our next game. Okay, here is one that a lot of people probably have never heard of. It's an arcade game, pinball machine combo that actually predates Baby Pac-Man. This was released by Gottlieb in 1982, as you can see there. Let's go back and look at Baby Pac-Man. And, well, that was released in 1982, so right around the same time. But Caveman is actually credited with being the first game that combined the pinball with like an arcade screen. Let's look and see if we have the flyer for this one, if it has some photos in it of the cabinet. I love these flyer images on Pinball X. It tells you all this information you otherwise wouldn't be able to read on the screen. There's an overview of the actual cabinet. You can see there's a monitor down in the center of it, which is a little different. It's not on a back glass display. They dropped it right up in the middle of the playfield. And you can see where the little joystick was down there at the bottom. And there you can see a little bit of a view. Had a really strange shape to it because there wasn't a traditional back glass display. They had the high scores up in there on that one screen, alphanumeric display, and just the Caveman title lit up. So it was very different setup. So let's load up this game, and we can see how this one works in Visual Pinball. Now the first thing you're going to notice, well, I don't know, it depends on which screen you're looking at. If you look at the back glass display, the author of this particular version made kind of a unique display there because the back glass score display on the original cabinet was very different. Instead of making it just a traditional big back glass display on here, they kept that original shape of the cabinet and then added that background images. It looks just like you're standing in the middle of arcade, I guess. There's a couple other pinball games in the background and their lights blink. It's really neat to look at. But that back glass display then would be a traditional setup the way the original machine was, with just the scores. Now if you look on the playfield, up at the top you see the arcade monitor that's sunk in there. And it also has a score display above it. As far as I have tried, I can't hide that. It's part of that image. Now you can move around the DMD displays, which this is, as far as the software is concerned, that's like a DMD display that would be on a more modern table. You can move those around, you can resize them, you can reposition them. But because that top edge of the screen is you can't go any more left. That would actually be the left side of the monitor, just turned upright. You can't go anywhere off the screen, so if I position the screen, see if I can do that here with the mouse. If we try to position this up higher, now I can do this and let it sit there, and I can resize this screen to make the maze larger, but it won't save it because technically the screen doesn't have coordinates there. It'd be like a negative coordinate on the XY where it would want to set the screen, so it can't do it. So every time I load this game back up, you're going to see this score display up here. I'd prefer if it wasn't there because I could resize the window and make the actual maze, the game part, bigger, easier to read. But that's just some of the limitations here when you're dealing with this software. Unless somebody goes and completely reconfigures this to not show the scores here, there's really nothing we can do. My guess is that it was on here just in case someone wants to play this whole full screen version and they don't have a back glass display. Some people do prefer to run their Visual Pinball games that way. They might not be in a cabinet, they just might turn their screen up and play. But that's what we have to work with here, so that's what we're going to go with. Okay, so let's try to play this, and I can try to show you how it works. I have some credits in there. Load credits is normal. There, I'm up to 4. This is actually a 4-player game. In Baby Pac-Man, remember, you start out in the maze, and then when you get eaten by a ghost or exit the maze, you fall down into pinball. This one, you start in pinball, and you have to get into the maze. So, we'll launch our ball, and there's a couple spots up at the top that if you get your ball in the little cup, it puts you into the maze. It's not the most exciting pinball game, really. Maybe I'm just not very good at it. It doesn't have a lot of sound effects to it, like the pop bumpers when you hit them. Oh, there we go. Now I'm in the maze. So now we're going to be up in the maze. You can see little Caveman moving around. Use the arrow keys. And we're trying to get as many brontosauruses, which is little green guys, as we can, without getting eaten by a Tyrannosaurus Rex, which is what is chasing me. I don't know if you can see that. Oh, I think he's going to get me. He's right on me. Oh, there we go. Got eaten by the Tyrannosaurus, kicks the ball out, drains the ball. That's the end of that ball. So it'd go to the next ball or the next player. Very unique type of game. And I'm sure when this came out, and if you were a kid or anybody that saw this in the arcade, probably everybody that walked by it wanted to give it a try. So, and if it's on your Visual Pinball cabinet, anybody who's scrolling through here, on your Pinball X or Hyperspin, whatever you're running, they see this pop up, they're going to probably want to give it a try just because it's going to look so different. And it's the same thing for Baby Pac-Man. When you see this game, you know something is very different about this, and most people are going to want to give it a try. So that's why I'm trying to come up with a really good way to implement it into the cabinets. And if I can find a perfect little joystick to use that isn't going to stick out and make the pinball machine just look like it has this obnoxious joystick sticking up in the middle of it, that's my goal. I want it to just something that'll blend in. And I don't want to have to go the route that some other people were going with, changing their cabinet buttons to left, right, up, down controls. So that's Baby Pac-Man and Caveman. Two very unique games that I'm really glad that somebody put the time in to get working inside Visual Pinball. So we'll update you on some more progress on my cabinets, and if I get these working inside the cabinet with a little joystick, I will definitely share that as well. So thanks for watching. I hope you learned something, learned about a couple games you might not have seen before, and I will be back again showing off some other ones. Thanks a lot.